recognizing the responsibilities and I guess actions that an adversarial should have or a hacker should have, it's one of the ABCs that every computing major, or not has to be computer major, every individual in the society should understand when you do adversarial thinking. This is the Hacker's Corner. Adversarial thinking set. Hello everybody, welcome back. This is the Hacker's Corner, Adversarial Thinking Edition. So I want to thank everybody who has been following us in this series of Adversarial Thinking series. So we're running a series of these different shows that we're actually discussing and exploring different areas of adversarial mindset, how we can incorporate awareness in cybersecurity, in computing in general, including new emerging technologies like AI and quantum computing, machine learning, and several of them else. My name is Servín. I'm a professor here at El Paso Community College, and this is part 2 of our show called Adversarial Thinking. We have our guest, Joe Klang. You're still here with us, Joe?
Really? Yes, I am.
We're very lucky to have Joe. This is the second part of our episode about adversarial thinking. I want to invite you all to take a look at the former one, part 1. Here you can find this link. But also, while we're doing this transition, I want to invite you to the website Hack the Border, which is one of the events that we're actually advertising right now, because we're doing a lot of professional development, workshops, and of course the hackathon that we're going to run towards the end of this season. Joe, thank you so much for staying with us.
Thank you.
Would you like to continue the conversation? In the last episode, you give us a very nice description about what DEF CON is, not only because it's the most popular hacking convention in the world. More than 30,000 people have attended. Every time that we go there to Las Vegas, we see a lot of people, different hackers, different people who wants to learn, different agencies, 3-letter agencies there, making sure that the boundaries are in order. It's a great event for people who want to go there, learn new technologies, learn new how to do things, break things, fix things. And you gave a beautiful description about how you can, what are the different modalities that you should adopt when you are in DEF CON. And you told us that you are a goon, a person who actually helps other hackers to move and navigate through the entire convention. So it's a beautiful, I like it a lot. Thank you so much for sharing that thing. Tell me something, Joe. I met you in the Quantum Village in DEF CON 31, which was in 2023. I was there in the Quantum Village along with Mark and Victoria, who actually organized this. By the way, they're great people. I want to, later on, we'll talk about them. Then we engaged in this conversation, you and I, about why this community is very important for the students. I teach in a community college where we have students who they're barely getting into computing. They have this appetite of getting to the computer, to the cell phone. They want to say, hey, you know what? I want to do cool things. I want to know what this is. So when I received your email and you gave me your card, there were 3 phrases that caught my attention. Would you like to talk about that? And I don't want to tell, I want you to tell us a little bit more, because for me, it's a very nice and concise way to say, this is the personality that I will adopt. But I want you to tell us a little bit more about those phrases.
So the first one, and thank you, this is exciting to be on. Wave to everybody.
Thank you.
So the first one is Nelson Mandela. In the security community and in technology, and really in life too, the quote I have here is, you never lose. You either win or you learn. Mm-hmm. That's the attitude of many of the community, people in the community, to say, okay, I don't know how to do it. I'm going to find somebody, until they succeed.
Mhm.
And then they'll share that information with other people. And that's pretty cool to happen.
Yeah.
The second one I like is Wayne Gretzky, who was a hockey player.
Mhm.
And that is, I'm always looking at, I don't want to look at the puck
Yeah.
and basically go to where the puck was, because technology is changing too quickly. Being in cybersecurity, if you're not aware of changes that are occurring, you're already old and moldy.
Mhm.
But Gretzky put it this way: I skate to where the puck will be, is going to be, not to where it has been. So, as an example, I have done some amazing things in my life. Have messed with cars, satellites, all kind of technology, Bluetooth, and I won't go any further. But the reality is that, what is the next challenge?
Mhm.
And again, back to, I either win or learn. Um, those are two really big things in this field.
Mhm.
And the third one, which was Seneca,
Yeah.
from the Roman, or excuse me, the Greek days.
Yeah.
Um, I actually modified the quote in Veta Vinum at Fecit,
Mhm.
which is which I used to have down there. I will find a way or make it. But I
That.
realized that we are a community. So I modified it so that it was, we will find a way. You and I and the people in this community, or we will make that way.
Mhm.
And that's a really interesting thing to say, especially when you're in a group of, 30,000 cackers.
Yeah.
You know, it's not uncommon to walk in and see something and say, hey, how does this work? Well, I don't know. Let's figure it out. And that's been my experience. Every security community, every conference I've been to, which I've been to, I guess, about 1,200 conferences in
Mm.
my life.
Yeah.
Um, and that's always the way that you deal with it. Is you say, you ask questions, you find people, you talk to whatever, but you're really trying to learn at this point so you can win. But it really takes a community to do this.
Joe, yeah, and the reason why I'm asking you this, because as an educator, so I mean, everything that you have told us is great, because for me, we're looking something called dispositions and competencies, and the disposition for in the educational community is hard to define. Something that I have learned is something that dispositions, you don't teach it, you learn it through time. But the framework, if you mentioned that this is a framework that you live by, for me, when I read those three phrases, they're they combine each other and describe what a disposition, a professional disposition, should every student should have. And the nice thing that you mentioned this is in the context of a real world situation where you have hackers trying to break and fix things, but also will find a way to solve things, not only anticipating the problem that is, not only observing the problem that we're living right now, but anticipating the ramification that will come. And for me, that is the ultimate goal of education. I mean, everybody should have, at least that's my perspective.
Oh, absolutely. Where I'm looking right now from a puck standpoint,
Mm-hmm.
I learned how to program AI with Lisp and several other programming languages back in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And I am back playing with AI, which is really fun. And the other thing is the quantum village.
Yeah.
The Mark, who wrote a book. So we helped another friend write a book.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is the community
Wow.
supporting each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the question was, why are we only looking digital? Why aren't we looking analog? Because there's better math in an analog domain versus the 1 and 0 domain.
Hmm.
So we started looking to say, how would we create a mathematic formula in analog so we could determine what is the real level of security of my system now,
Okay.
or my network, or this application. So Mark wrote up the mathematical framework for it. It was, we spent a lot of time discussing things, having Red Bull and more, and it was about 4 hours.
Oh,
We got markers. We went and found large, because they didn't have whiteboards, so we found these great windows that we could draw on to deal with the formulas,
sure.
and we spent hours doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And when we were done, we felt like we as a community, we had actually moved the puck a little bit, which was pretty cool. So he got hold of me and said, "Hey, I'm doing this quantum village.
Mm-hmm.
I think you need to be here."
Yeah.
And I went, "Cool, that works."
Mm-hmm.
And seriously, when we look at quantum and AI, has anybody ever seen something called Star Trek?
Only everyone,
We
maybe?
we are approaching that
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
You know, I guess I mentioned that I had a conversation 2 weeks ago with a client,
Mm-hmm.
and our conversation was, "Wow, um, when we go to the moon to have networks there, we're going to need addresses allocated. So how are we going to allocate to that? And oh, by the way, Mars is coming up too. And oh, by the way, we already have IP address networks that have been floating around since 2007. How do
Mm-hmm.
we make sure that those are secure?"
Yeah.
You know, this is a completely different way of thinking about things. So, and then the quantum is really pretty cool because the ability to create a new set of capabilities that we've never seen. If anybody's ever been in an MRI, you're in this big magnet and it spins and makes noise and you get claustrophobic. Um, One of the things that Mark brought forward with some of his peers is a tool this size. You had two of these,
Mm-hmm.
and you'd be able to look inside somebody's body to make sure that in an emergency room that we could fix things quicker instead of waiting for them to get time and move them and everything else.
Yeah.
The cool part about it is the combination of the AI to be able to better get receive better signals,
Mm-hmm.
and the quantum just for the ability to see within that part of your body that is harmed. We are approaching a time that we could be seeing Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we now have satellites in space we didn't before. We have lasers going between satellites so that the satellite communications are fast and secure.
Mm-hmm.
This is not this is not your father or grandfather. Don't tell my grandkids. Um, this is a real awesome time to be in the cybersecurity world.
Mm-hmm.
We are basically we have so many opportunities to learn. I was just looking up bug bounties. If you're not aware of bug bounties, as you progress through your adversarial and your defense thinking,
Yeah.
you can sign up and do bug bounties, which is getting approval to do testing against somebody's system. And people make money out of that. Not a lot, but it subsidizes your day job. Um, but also you can have, if you find a vulnerability, you can turn around and you can post a CVE. This has your name on it, telling them what you found. This is published by the government. This is transmitted every place on the planet to be able to say this problem was found. Actually, there was a Cisco vulnerability today. That's really bad. Mm-hmm. And it had the researchers' information. Here's how we found it. Here's what the problems are. Here's how we fix it, so that we can improve, this set of technology that's becoming very Star Trek like.
Yeah, 100%. For those who were asking, the Quantum Village, as you can see here in the screen, there will be a friend. It's a quantum hacker. I like to call Mark quantum hacker. Great work that is being developed in the hacking community, because there's principles, there's fundamentals about quantum computing, quantum mechanics. It's a beautiful environment. So I always advertise this anytime I can. Now, going back, my former mentor's one of my former mentor's instructors, he was here, Professor Vladimir. One of his instructors mentioned back then that when he was taking classes, that some of the problems that we've been facing are not really problems here. Real problems is what happens when the sun will die, when time goes by, when humans need to migrate to another planet with a different place. So those were the problems that that the professor introduced back then, because they think, well, we have time because we have plenty of time, but that vision that people have back in the day is right here. You mentioned about satellites, put it in the moon and maybe now Mars. We have seen Elon Musk actually we're doing those explorations to Mars and doing X, Y, and Z. But something that caught my attention when we're discussing, Joe, is that you need to have a combination of scientists, engineers, and there's one main piece, visionaries. This triangular aspect that I guess goes along with the framework that you mentioned, that is the perfect combination basically in order to move forward and to recognize cyber aspects while we move forward towards that technology. Because after all, that's how, when you mentioned why you're here, I like technology and I just need to be updated, and that is the dilemma, right?
It's interesting to go through the process, because I've been on all three of those sections. I've been a subject matter expert to figure out how this particular set of electrons and such happened. I've been the engineer to actually design things, and I've been the visionary to go and say, if we did this, we could solve this problem for humanity or for people or for, whatever. And, again, this is an amazing time to be alive. Mm-hmm. And by the way, I guess you haven't mentioned that right now, just in the U.S., there's a need for over 1 billion people with your skills and your developing skills. Okay. This is real important for me because I've mentored and I've taught. And nothing more fun for me, and you probably have seen it also, is to see somebody suddenly show up as, inventing something, creating something, solving a really hard problem that I never imagined existed. Mm-hmm. So this is a really amazing time to be in this field. It really is.
I agree.
It just takes focus, and again, your peers, your friends, to try to figure out how to get through this process.
There's so much, 100%, Joe, 100% I agree. So much information available that kind of improve, I like to call it improve the knowledge progress, right? So people, you just need curiosity, creativity to how to solve things. Now, also information, a lot of information or a lot of data, it can create misinformation. It can be not good things. And that brings me to the next topic, the ethical hackers. What is your shape? I mean, you have met many hackers in your life, right? Many hackers in real life.
Including one called Vince Cerf.
Vince Cerf.
He's one of my mentors.
Is that right?
He helped develop the IPv4 internet, and then basically worked on the IPv6 network, and
Wow.
He's just finished the upgrade for the planetary networks. So, yeah,
Wow.
interesting, huh?
Wow. That I didn't know. It's good. Wow, that's amazing. And that's, I mean, you have seen personalities,
Mhm.
motivation, vision for the sake of science, for the sake of engineering, for the sake of humanity, but also you probably have seen other adversarial hackers who says, you know what, I'm gonna move towards that direction, something that will do evil, or it will do something that is not necessarily the good things. You probably have heard, I mean, there's another terminology called black hat hackers, right?
Right.
And unfortunately, that's what many people, when they see the word hacker, they associate it with that. But can you tell us a little bit how this balance between hackers are in the community and the people that you have met, and where can we move towards the ethical hacking perspective?
Let me tell a story a little bit. Back in the 50s and 60s, being a hacker was at MIT
Mm-hmm.
was the thing that you impressed your friends with.
Yeah.
You basically had access at night to the networks and computers, and you did a couple not really malicious but silly things. You had this whole creativity to say, hey, I think I can do this in 15 lines. And some of the things back in the 50s and 60s, it was just silly stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Taking a model railroad and plugging it into a computer and having it self-switching all over the place. I mean, that's pretty freaking cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, at that point, they were considered heroes. They were considered the innovators
Mm-hmm.
at that time. But we then got to 70s and 80s as the ARPANET started getting connected. We started seeing illegal activities. But there were people like me. I mean, at that point, I was, hey, dude, do you know anything about these computers? Yeah. Can you help me fix it? Yeah. Because there really wasn't a term for cybersecurity at that point.
I agree.
And we saw some illegal hacking, and it really didn't hit the press. The general population didn't think it was really interesting, and I did, but I'm kind of weird that way. But it didn't really draw a lot of attention. It was really the 90s when we shifted over to the internet being available to everybody. And that's when we saw things like, I don't know if you've ever heard of AOL. We started seeing phishing from AOL. And
Oh,
we asked as a community, look, we are the honest ones. Please stop this trash that you're sending us. And then we started putting up web servers, which I had up web servers in 93.
mm-hmm.
And some people tried to hack them. And we went back and found them and said, stop this. This is not cool. Um, but there were people that wanted to make quick money, and a lot of them got caught over time,
Yeah.
which is really interesting. There was a bunch of discussions about what does an ethical hacker look like? Well, it looks like you, it looks like me.
Mm.
It looks like, hey, we have to find what the constraints are that aren't going to put me in jail. We're going to have to do it ethically and have a conversation with, hey, I found this technology. Do I have permission to do it? And tell me what the constraints are.
Mm-hmm.
DoD has this hack the DoD. I think there's one coming up for DHS. And you go through a vetting process that you're going to do the appropriate thing. And yeah, you make a few dollars, but you end up learning a lot, especially when you have peers
Yeah.
to do that. So this is what's happening. So we actually created it from the term hacker
Mm-hmm.
to ethical hacker or black hat hackers, which is engaging in illegal things for personal gain or malicious or, and some people, in some cases, killing people based on the technology they're in or using,
Yeah.
which is really sad. We have the white hat hackers, which, I've played that game for a while, which is you conduct penetration tests and vulnerabilities. And oh my gosh, I've had so much fun getting paid to go break into systems, authorized contracts, money exchanged with the company that you're working with, figuring out weird ways to get access to different things. It's pretty fun. And then we have the gray hat hackers, which are, they fit in the gray area. You're not sure if they're really one way or another. We do have hacktivists, which they want to basically get their social agenda across. They want to get their political agenda across. And they'll do things like dox people, figure out who they are and then say, here's some pictures that shouldn't be up on the internet, but we got into their network. Haha. And then we have script kiddies.
You mentioned script kiddies?
Yes.
Wow. Sorry to interrupt you. I just want to clarify the word.
No. Yeah. Let me mention that. That's somebody that basically only uses pre-written software. They've not tested it. They run scripts, and they're usually the ones that are caught quickly, and they may spend time, they may spend whatever. It's just not worth it. Honestly, it's so cheap now to put up a cheap cloud service, and you can hack your cloud service or a throwaway computer, an old computer, and you and your friends can basically go, oh, here's 3 computers. Let's see what we can do with them. That way you end up getting the skills to make money off of it, but it doesn't put you at risk. And that's one of the biggest things when I was teaching penetration testing, red teaming, was, there is a process, and you go beyond that process, you're going to see law enforcement of some sort. It's just not worth it.
Yeah. When I mentioned this to my students, the different types of hackers appear, but they grab some idea, they write a hello world programs, and they try to go and experience a lot of free downloaded scripts in Starbucks, for example. And I say that's probably the most common error that many people they go to a Starbucks or a coffee shop and try to experiment there, and then sure it is 5 minutes, 10 minutes after, you see law enforcement there taking them.
And seriously, based on my level of dealing with it for many years, that was doable in the mid 90s, maybe the late 90s. But once we start hitting 2000, companies started spending money to secure their systems, to identify these systems, and to chase them down, chase whoever did that down, be it a coffee shop or a corporation or, manufacturing or whatever. That's a very common thing, and you really don't want to be there.
I completely agree. Joe Klein, thank you so much for being with us. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and your whole experience here at the Hackers Corner. And I want to invite everyone to go to the EPCC TV YouTube channel to watch the inventory of different videos that we have seen here through the Hackers Corner. And I want to thank everybody for sending their emails, their messages, their phone calls in order to continue this show. My name is Servín. I want to thank everybody. See you next time. Happy coding, everyone.